What's up, everybody? Come on in, have a seat, pull up a chair, and just tell us in the chat, where are you? Where are you right now? Love to see where you're tuning in from. I got my friend Sam Woods here. How are you, Sam?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Good, buddy. I appreciate you being with us. And I'll let everybody get in and mellowed real quick, and then I will start recording so we can have the replay. This is very much a town hall, everybody, so it's kind of an open conversation. If you have any questions along the way, please raise your hand. If you want to come on in the end and come on camera with us and chat about anything, this is a learning environment, as always, here in Copy Chief, and there's just so much going on with AI. As you know, if you've been paying any attention to me, Sam is the man in everything I've seen for what's happening, how to use it. He's been using AI to aid his copywriting since 2019. He was the first one to come out and hold a true workshop, really showing people over 3 days how this works, what it's capable of. Obviously, just in the last few days, we've had new updates and changes. Sam kind of warned me not to ask him what's new because that'll be 2 hours alone.
It's an historic week. I can just say that, but go ahead. All
right. Well, I definitely want to get some of that. We also have my friend Ross O'Loughlin here. And so let me do a couple things, housekeeping for I'm going to hide non-video. Lolita's here to help us. I'm going to bring up Ross. Hey, Tommy, good to see everybody. All right. So let me get Ross in here. Let me find your Ross. I need to go to participants. Here we go. Attendees, Mr. O'Loughlin. Addison Rice is here. This is great. Casey Stanton's here. Oh my goodness. See, this could be 6 hours. Chaba. Dean Edelson, my man. Good to see you. You know a lot of these people, Sam, from our long history. Keith Trimmels, Justin Blackman.
I miss Copy Chief Live, dude. I miss it.
I know, bro. Well, we're going to get a taste of it here in April. It'll be about 40 of us. It'll be the same kind of spirit, but we'll have a lot more space to be together in time to talk. But I miss it too, man. I got two Rosses. So Ross, I'm going to hit the first one and hope that works for you.
It's like chat roulette. Do you remember that tool, chat roulette?
I do, actually, right? And it'd be like, who's about to pop on? You didn't know if you're coming on or not. There he is.
Is this me? I think this is me.
That's you.
What's happening?
Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I know. Sam and I always do this. I'm like, hey, you available Monday? It's a holiday. So he's like, oh, it is?
Yeah.
Local entrepreneur. We never know when the holidays are. Plus,
what's
Ross
this thing called Christmas? What is this? I don't understand.
Ross is there in Montreal. So, but every day, St. Patrick's Day for a true Irishman from Cork. My man, Ross, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing good, man. I'm a little tired, frankly. I was up too late messing around with the new Mid-Journey bot, speaking of AI. It's very addictive when you're just going through all the iterations. So I'm doing great, though. Life is good. Spring is on the way here. Still too much snow outside Montreal, but it's starting to melt. So the spirits are rising.
Beautiful. Beautiful. All right. Well, we're going to get into this. Look, I don't want to go into long dissertations repeating things that we're already hearing and thinking. I want to get into some discussions with two top experts in this, truly curious, capable people who embrace tech and are also great copywriters. And to me, the one thing I just want to say is that I have never experienced in my almost 20 years in this business as much sort of fear and consternation around the topic. I get it. I think we live in a bubble, frankly, right here in our direct response world. And it feels like there's a lot of people, but in the big picture, it can be kind of small. And between people want to sort of take advantage of anybody's concerns, sell them products and things, or whatever it comes down to. One thought I had was that, look, as writers, man, that's a really purely creative endeavor, right? That's something that we're drawn to, that most people are afraid of. And it's a very pure thing. All you need is a pencil and a piece of paper in your writing. So I think part of it is that everybody is starting to feel a little bit like, not everybody, but certain kinds of writers are thinking, oh, now I have to learn tech. I don't want to bring tech into this process. This is going to muddy up my experience and how I understand how I operate in this. And so I just keep saying to anybody who feels that way, please just play with the thing. Just play with it. I mean, the simplest prompt in the world will produce things that, and I did it this morning, with the event we got coming up in April. And I just said, write me an ad about this event and told it the dates, and it produced things that I hadn't even touched on. And I've been writing this for 2 weeks. And again, the point is not that, oh God, great, I'm just going to cut and paste that. Frankly, I asked it 3 different iterations and I posted them all in this email I'm going to send out. But the point is, the prompt just could not have been simpler, right? Yeah. And so if you're worried or concerned that you just don't know how to use this thing, and it's like you have to enter code, that's not the case. It's very simple. Of course, Sam, I know, uses it on a much higher level. It's all in his workshop. If you missed it, that's a shame. I don't know if he plans to make it available again, but it is. Oh, it's available for sale now. Yeah. Okay, cool. Oh, great. So it's the preeminent workshop, and if you're not hip, get it. Ross, I've known for so many years. He's an engineer by training, that's his degree is in engineering. And so he's a guy who understands systems and wants to get in there and dig around with them. As he said, look at him, droopy eyed there. He's been up an hour ago. He stopped playing with this thing, had a nap, had some coffee, and now he's here to talk about it. So I want your questions. But let's just start with where we're at now, because even since your workshop, Sam, which was back in February?
January.
Yeah,
early January.
What have been the big shifts since then for you?
Huge. And so what the couple of things that are both good to see, but also interesting, let's put it that way. So one big shift is how there are so many more models available now for you to interact with. So back then, so for past few years, GPT-3 was the thing, and there weren't really no other models. And then ChatGPT came out, and that was the thing for a few months. But now you have Claude, you have there's a website called poe.com, POE.com. And it gives you access to Dragonfly, Claude Plus, Sage. There are so many more. And then Bing, which is via Microsoft. And I don't think there's a wait list anymore, or there may be, but you get added to it pretty quickly. But Bing itself is connected to the internet, so that anything you prompt it with, it'll give you, if it's applicable, it'll give you search results in the answer it gives you. Right. Cool. So it has exploded in terms of availability of other models, which is a good thing. And then there's another tool that you can actually do one single prompt, and you can select which models you want the output from, which just makes it easier, right. Simpler, right? And so that's the shift, is that it's become broader use. And then Google is integrating it into workspace tools like Gdocs and Sheets and so on. Microsoft, this week was insane. So in the same week, you have GPT-4, you have Microsoft saying it's going to come into all the Office suite, Word and Excel and everything else. You had Google saying it's coming to all our tools. So it's becoming ubiquitous, and that's the biggest shift. And which means, and here's the thing which means that if you're not using it, if you don't get to start using it in the next few months, the risk is that you start falling behind. And I'm not the guy who's going to say, you'll be out of a job, you'll be replaced, like you're done, you're doomed, you're screwed, it's over, it's game over. I'm just saying, like, you got to do something with it. At least try and explore it, because it's becoming ubiquitous, as in everyone's using it. If you still write copy by hand and send your sales letter by mail to your client, then like the copywriters using Google Docs, they just have a leg up. They just have a leg up.
That's great. And yeah, that's an important point, is that, man, look, when sane people tell you it's here and it's not going away, or even if they're using effort, it's just true.
Yeah.
You could be a purist if you want, and maybe there'll be a boutique niche for that.
Yes.
The unencumbered writer. But I just don't think it's going to filter its way into your world and the things you see. And if you're only there reacting to it, then it kind of owns you. You're just sort of like mindlessly navigating your way through this tool. Whereas if you start using it now as an early adopter, you'll go, oh, cool. Like Sam is like, okay, cool. Wow, I see how they added this, but I've seen that pattern before, and I got to look out for that. And, just be educated. And that means just starting and moving your hands with it. Ross, give me your take, buddy.
Yeah, like I think it's funny. I'm in a number of chats with normies, right? Like who are not the folks that would have been all in on GPT when ChatGPT kind of released. And like, I really first went down the rabbit hole with Midjourney. I hadn't really been paying attention to ChatGPT. I tried some of the AI things, but I went like really on the rabbit hole when Midjourney kind of released. Was it last summer publicly with like its revelation? And it blew my mind. And then that was when I was like, oh, bro, maybe like what's the equivalent of the writing? And then was paying attention to Sam's stuff. But like some of the normies are only catching up now, and they're starting to freak out a little bit that like, what is this going to do for society? Like, what are humans anymore? Like, what is our value?
Right. And
I'm the complete opposite. I'm like, maybe it's my enthusiasm and my default of like optimism, but I'm like, bro, this is like, there's not been a more exciting time to be able to like have access to this stuff. Like the images I was creating earlier today and last night are just like literally blowing my mind. Like, I just cannot believe that I can spin these up like that. And it's the same with the writing, and like, it's moving very fast. And I think the fact that it's moving very fast is kind of freaking people out. Like the level at which it's increasing. And like Sam, if people aren't following Sam's posts, like he's on top of the stuff way more than I am. But like, it is accelerating, and it's like if you know how these things work with systems, like it's going to start going exponential, right? Like they're training the next generation with the current generation now.
Right.
And like, that might make you feel like there's no way I can keep up. But like, if you'd been at Sam's workshop, what I really noticed was like, Sam didn't really give a workshop on AI at all. He just gave a masterclass on how much of a good copywriter he was. Because he was just revealing his process for copywriting. And he was just asking the bot to go and do the thing he would normally have done. And it just did it way faster. Like the prompts, there weren't like some secret prompts. It was just showing you like, this is how Sam thinks about copy. Right. And like, that's what I would encourage everyone to do, that there's no secret. Like to like being able to interact with these things. And the fact that GPT-5 is going to be even better, you're still going to have to queue it and talk to it. And you're still going to need to like assemble the pieces. So the job you're doing is still the same, right? It's not technically difficult. It's just more like, understand that once you start, you're still going to have to queue it to the same things. You just might need fewer prompts as the thing gets better. Right. So that's how I think about it is, I'm very excited to see it accelerate, but I'm not at all, I would say, intimidated that it's going to replace me, because like my clients, like I'm working with business owners, like they're not going to know what to prompt the bot to do to get the outcome from the creative that would need to be created to like run marketing in their business. Right. That you can't tell the bot like, run my business for me and then stand back. It's not at that level. So understanding what needs to be created and the process for creating it, I think is the part that will be the superpower for all the copywriters here. you know, and that's the part that I find less intimidating, because business owners are just not going to be bothered to go deep.
Look, man, a lot of business owners who hire us now can write their own copy. There's a reason. It's not just about being too busy or whatever. It's about having someone you trust to filter out. You know, I remember back when I was coaching Simple Writing System with Carlton, right? Like all these business owners were taking the course, and John would tell them, if for no other reason, you need to take the course to understand good copy from bad copy. But that doesn't mean you should be writing it. It just means you need to recognize. And business owners want a trusted person to recognize. They don't have time to stop and learn the same thing so that they can be their own filter. They don't want that job. You're okay. So this is not worry about being replaced or being irrelevant. It's just like when QuickBooks came out, fixed mindset, you know, accountants were like, well, there we go. I'll just look for new work. This thing does everything I do. And growth mindset accountants went, holy smokes, my job just got a lot easier. I could pick up 6 new clients tomorrow because it used to take me all day to do this shit. And because they understood people don't want to do their own accounting. Sam, I want to go back to something Ross said, and I think you were going to remark on it. So I want to let you do that, because that to me was the most exciting thing about your workshop. The fact that you were teaching the fundamentals, the proven process of copywriting. And to me, it showed if you didn't have that in place, then this isn't going to work for you. So we got to get you that first. If you do have that in place, great. Let's use it to your advantage. But without one, the other isn't going to happen. Yeah,
it's all about process and thinking and turning your thoughts into words, which may sound esoteric, but when you interact with ChatGPT, which is just the type of interaction you have, and you can either interact with GPT-3 or 4, you can make that choice if you're a Plus user, or any other tool. It's like you're having and I keep saying this, and it's going to sound like trite at this point, but it's like you're having a conversation with someone, like you're having a conversation with a bot, and you start with a prompt, and then it gives you stuff back. And then if it's not what you're looking for and what you think might work, then you ask it to change it, and you tell it what to change. And so it's a continuous process. And as long as your prompts have a function, a modifier, and a context to it, you'll get good output. But it's a continuous interaction with it. And GPT-4 now, the way I'm using it and what I'm seeing is that like all the prompts that I have like 1,800 of them. They all work. They just give better output. Whereas 3 gave certain quality of output, 4 like jacks it up 10x, as in the same prompt just gives better output and more closer to what I'm looking for. So process, you have to understand, like, how do you write copy now? How do you do your research? How do you write? How do you draft? How do you think? How do you make choices as to what to keep and not to keep? The same process that you're using now can be applied and integrated with these tools like ChatGPT. It's like having a conversation partner. It's like almost like having a junior writer. It's a collaborator, because you ask it to explain things. And if you're stuck, like I've been stuck on, like now it's much better at giving me metaphors and analogies. But a couple of years ago when GPT-3 came out, like one of the things that I was struggling with as a copywriter then was, how the heck do I come out with a big idea? How do I create metaphors? How do I find analogies that work for copy? And I could just ask it, and it would give me like endless stream of big ideas, endless stream of metaphors. And then I made the choice, the editing choice, like I'm going to keep this, I'm going to not use that, I'm going to keep this, I'm going to ask it to give it to me in a different way. And so it's like it's just the creative and writing process put into words. So just focus on that. And to summarize that up, if you understand what good copy is, then that'll help you make better prompts and ask it better questions and give it better statements. You got to know, like you got to practice. You still have to be good.
Let me show something I did this morning, just on a whim. And again, for people who I am not advanced. I'm not an advanced user. I'm a curious copywriter. I embrace this. I will begin to enter my process more. But when I think about writing, I still sit down and I start writing. Okay. But when I'm thinking of ideas, to me as a research partner, a creative collaborator, which is what Sam always calls it, which I think is the best description. Let me just show you, playing around with it this morning. I was thinking about the movie Rocky. And I said, get out of my way. Okay. What is the driving force behind the character Rocky Balboa and Rocky? Right. So it names these things. And again, if I'm sitting here off the top of my head and I go, what was the most important? I wouldn't have thought maybe of everything. And so seconds later, I have his desire to prove himself and achieve his dream of becoming a champion. But despite his humble background and lack of formal training, Rocky possesses a strong work ethic, determination, and unwavering belief in himself. Right. Remember, getting granular here. Yep. He's characters motivated by personal relationships, Adrian, Paulie, Mickey, right? So here I have this like really big, brings me back to the movie in all the elements. And now it's like, okay, for whatever idea I have, this email I'm going to write, which parts of these seem the most relevant? So then I say, okay, well, let's show me a scene. What scene in Rocky best demonstrate his loyalty to those he cares about? So they show me, I think it got, I had to regenerate it because it did crap out of me at the end of the script. Right. So, but he's telling me the scene. Okay. So now I have examples of 4 scenes if I want to stay sort of wide, but then I say, show me the script dialogue from the ice skating scene in Rocky. And here it is. I mean, come on. How long would I have had to search and get distracted and think to get this? So now if I want to write an email and I want to drill down into one thing Rocky or Adrian said to each other and use that as a lesson, it's just right there, right? And so to me, that's how simple it is to make this when you're formulating ideas. And I've stressed this before. I think it's the best kind of collaborator because look, to me as a writer, the beauty of writing, the sacred moment of it is you sitting there with an idea, you're watching yourself write words, you're hearing your thoughts, you're all alone, you're undistracted, and you don't quite know where it's going to go. And it's exciting. It's exciting. And you get to the end of it and you go, oh man, that was good to me. Then you go back and you go, nah, I think this rabbit hole can go. And that's your piece, right? But now you get to do this with this tool that doesn't try to take over your thoughts or send them in a different direction. It's simply reacting to what you're curious about and what you're thinking about, unimpeded by, I love human collaborators, of course, that's going to enter the equation at some point in the piece. But when it's still pure, when you're still alone with it, it's non-disruptive, but guiding.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, 100%. Like I would just add to that, right? Like to springboard off what you were saying and also what Sam was saying, like the real superpower of this thing is the speed and the ability for it to like just produce an insane output and quantity of items. And like, it's just like, it can produce ideas faster than I can. Like I'm pretty good and I've practiced, right? But like, if I'm sitting down to come up with ideas for hooks for a lead magnet or whatever it is, or an email, or I don't know, like, it's just, we all have kind of our well-worn patterns, you know what I mean? Like you drill a message and then you kind of get stuck in that groove and you're just kind of like, this is the zone that you operate in. It doesn't have that. Right. And it will start to pull stuff outside. And like one of the things I learned from a music production coach from my electronic music producing days was that the quality comes through quantity. If you want to release an album of like, that's all killer, no filler, you don't sit down and try and write the 10 greatest tracks ever. You sit down and you write 300 tracks and then you curate the best out. And like this thing can spit out ideas so fast. And what's really going to be the advantage is imagination, taste. I think taste is going to be huge. You have to decide which are the best items. It has no judgment of quality. And I think exactly as you're doing there, right? Like you're exploring it, Kev. And then you can see the threads popping up, right? Like you use it as a starting point. And then all of a sudden you're getting ideas that you want to explore. And then it becomes an awesome tool for you to be able to go, oh yeah, let's go in this direction. And then it gives you 10 paths and you're like, oh, that's the one. And now you're down in this area that like you never expected to be, where you can operate. And like, it may not produce the thing, but like you're now in a zone where you're energized and you're inspired, and then your writing takes over, which is what everyone actually wants.
And then you go walk the dog and you let it process like you would any other idea, but you have better ideas and more dynamic framework.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No.
Yeah, there are a couple words that I've thought about and use in my own thinking for the past couple of years now, which is, one is discernment, which is your ability to make a judgment call and your ability to spot what is good and useful and worth to keep. The other one is having, like Ross said, a sense of taste, as in you need to direct the output and then direct the output that you then take and do something with in whichever direction. Another one is having a sense of judgment, as in you need to make that judgment call. Discernment helps you spot patterns as to what's good, useful, valuable, and worthwhile. And then the judgment is your ability to make that call with confidence and to pick the path that is presented in front of you. And all this requires wisdom. Like, these are all weird word, discernment, wisdom. Like, it just sounds esoteric and philosophical, and it has to be.
Right.
Because when anyone can create anything and is only getting better, words, images, audio, video, all of it, the only thing that'll matter is your ability to make judgment calls, discernment, taste, wisdom in how to use it and how to best use it and how to make it valuable for not just you, but also for other people. So like, those are the skills which are hard to practice, but they're required at this point. That's the only thing that'll help you make good choices and eventually write good emails and good ads that are actually have a stand chance of converting. Yeah. And so like, these are like, you have to practice these things, and it's about practicing your imagination, like Ross said too. Like, you have so many come to ChatGPT and they go, I don't know what to say. Like, well, okay.
Yeah.
Then the issue is not that you don't have the right prompt. The issue is that in your mind and in your imagination, you're not as well developed as you can be. And as a human, your potential for imagination is huge, even greater than what AI can do right now, or even in the future. So your ability to imagine, your ability to spot patterns, to discern, have a sense of taste, to guide and to lead forward what the output is, that's the one thing that'll make or break it for you.
Boy, there's the quote of the day so far. I want to bring another voice in. If I see Casey Stanton in the room, I want to talk to him. Casey, can you come on and share any thoughts, or you good for that? I don't know what he's thinking, but because I haven't been keeping up with the chat here, he didn't answer me, but I'm bringing him on anyway. I hope you're not indisposed, my friend.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can't see you yet though.
Yeah, I know. I'll get there. Just give me a second. Didn't expect this.
Sorry, buddy.
My baby daughter.
What you get for being brilliant. I always want to hear what you have to say.
No, I'm excited for this conversation and hearing your guys' take on it. I'm certainly not abreast to what's going on in AI in this way. And I feel like there's something that I'm missing, which is around, Ross, you said being able to like transcribe sales calls. And I get it, like that's cool, that's data, but what do I do with the data? How do I feed it? I've seen like Sean Vossler talk about putting together like multi-step sequences for AI where there's like JSON arrays that have data in it, and then things get built based on that. Like, do you guys have any understanding of that process? I just don't see how you can take all this data and generate something from it.
Easy.
Yeah, I'll comment on what I was talking about, and then I'm going to bounce that over to Sam, because he's going to be giving you a more, I think, like what you're talking about there is fine tuning with the JSON stuff. So the easy, simple way, unless you want to be getting into like training models and like all this stuff that would probably, I think, be a little above most of the copywriters here, at least initially with the current set of tool sets. What you can do is, like what I do, is I basically get a sales call, I transcribe it. And then like, if it's a half hour, 45-minute sales call, it might be, a few hundred words, maybe a few thousand words. It's definitely a few thousand words. And you can just say, hey, ChatGPT, I want to give you the transcription from a sales call I just have, and I want us to do some research on what the pain points and problems and yada, yada, yada that this person has. And then you drop it in, and then it like will really accurately summarize the contents of it. And then you can use that as the starting point for, I want to let's make some content from this, right? Because half of my emails Like everyone says, well, I love their emails. Like my go-to move is just, I was talking with this client, they had this problem. Let me give you the specific pain they were in and talk about the solution I prescribed to them. Like that's like, it's, you can put a nice snappy hook in the subject line and all that, but like, that's like the go-to move. And so I'm just constantly doing that anyway, but now it's just way more efficient because I can take a sales call or a client call and do that. And it's really good at pulling out things that you kind of would have missed, right? Like I kind of put the barrier, I was saying, like when you're in your creative space and you're kind of drilling your message, right? Like you kind of have your go-to moves. I find that when I'm listening to customer research calls or I'm doing the customer research calls, I kind of have my lens on for what I think is the pain points. And when I hear it, it's like self-validating. And then you kind of miss it, right? You miss the other stuff that people are saying because you're not really listening. You're listening for what you are listening for.
For sure.
And you get these transcriptions in and then like stuff starts to surface. You're like, oh yeah, they did say that. I don't talk about that emotional need in my copy as much as I should.
So tell me, like, can you brass tack it for me? Like, what is the thing that you're doing there? Like, what is what's the thing that I'm doing when I'm putting the thing into to analyze the transcript?
You mean technically with the machine or
like technically, like I just
copy paste.
Copy paste into
That's
ChatGPT.
So AI.com gives you ChatGPT, not to interrupt you, but it's simple. AI.com opens up ChatGPT. They need to create an account. There's a little window, like a chat window. You put in text and you ask it what to do. And you ask it to do exactly what Ross just said.
So you're saying that you feed that with all the data in the initial request that says, here are the copy paste of 5 sales calls, and what am I missing?
So it depends on what
yes. Now I would say yes, but like what you'll notice is there's going to be a limit to the number of characters you can feed it per thing. So if you have like a transcript that's like 6,000 words, I'll literally type in, hey, I'm going to feed you a transcript in multiple parts and we're going to have a conversation about the contents afterwards. Here's part 1. And then I give it 2,000 to 4,000 words. And then I'll say, here's part 2, here's part 3. And it might talk back to me in between because it's kind of just doing its thing. But after I give it all 3, I'll say, can you please summarize that concisely? And then we're going to brainstorm some content ideas from it. And then it'll give me a concise recap. And I need to make a judgment call. Did it actually get the thing? Because sometimes it's a little wonky, right? Like sometimes it'll only be recapping 1 part and I forgot you gave it the 3 parts, but it's still aware that the 3 parts are there. So you have to like make sure, like, do you have all the pieces? You do? Summarize? Okay, we're in a good place. And now you can start brainstorming content or ideas off of what was in that.
And then is this inside of a
chat.openai?
Yeah, sure, but I get that. But like, is this inside of like a conversation that you can come back to?
Right.
And
that's good. Good question. Yeah.
Yes. Now, like Sam, I think would love to chime in about like training this data so that it can persist over time, and like that's the part that's a little more advanced. But yeah, take it away, Sam.
Yeah, I don't know what's helpful, but have you used it, Casey? Have you used ChatGPT?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I've used it. I've gotten around it. I mean, I have a sense for how it works, but I don't really get the training of it or the way that it can output something that requires more than just kind of linear thought.
Yeah, it can. So the first one is you don't have me, you, who if we interact with it through AI.com and the interface, we can't train it. We can't fine tune it. We don't have that capability available to us. The only way to do something like properly speaking, the only way to do training and fine tuning is if you have API access, right?
Okay.
Then you can be more granular in what you do with it. But you don't need to, like as a copywriter, you don't need to get into API access and you need to get into development and coding. You can interact with it through just a simple AI.com in the little chat window. And it's all about the direction you give it. Now, GPT-3 had a look back window of about 8,000 tokens, give or take, which depending on what the text is, comes out to around 4,000-ish. 5,000 words. Now, if you gave it all of that, the output it would give you back would be degraded because it had a problem with coherence, meaning it lost the train of thought and it lost track of what it consumed the longer it is. GPT-4 does not have that limitation, and the ability for us to give bigger inputs via the chat interface is going to be rolled out, but the maximum token length for GPT-4 is 32,000 tokens, which comes out to about 25,000 words. So this is why, Ross, you do it in parts. You say, here's part 1, here's part 2. I find a sweet
That's
spot that the
huge.
maximum text that I would give it in any given prompt was around 1,200 to 1,300 words. What I found after that, the quality output would degrade and be turned just into dog shit. But you give it data and context, and you give it like, here's stuff. And then you ask whatever you want to know about the text. So you can analyze it for, like, if Ross puts in that transcript, then you can ask what objections come up, what positive sentiments come up, what negative sentiments, what human biases come up, what desires show up. And so you can do that with any text. So imagine you take text from Amazon reviews or any other reviews, and you put it in and you ask, what are people's objections? What are the biases that show up in this text, as in human biases, like availability, heuristic, anchoring bias, hindsight bias, all of those things? What desires show up? What voice tone and personality show up? So you can ask it any question you want about any text. And then the easy thing there is you then have that, like, you ask it for it and it keeps a certain context. Now, then you can say, okay, based on the, let's say it tells you there are 6 biases in this text. Then you can just ask it, okay, great, write me 6 emails that each explores each bias and move someone from being interested in my product to then converting and buying my product using the 6 biases you just uncovered. It'll transform the transcript, run it through the lens of the 6 biases, and give you 6 emails, 1 for each bias, as in the copy that's drafted appeals to one of those 6 biases in each single email. Wow. And it's endless. You can do that with any format. So most copywriters go into ChatGPT and they go, I want 5 emails, and they just ask for 5 emails or whatever they ask for ads. This is the wrong way to do it. You need to go back a couple of steps. Take the raw text and thoughts that you have, build up a body of text that you then run through frameworks, like we have PaceUp, Ada, all these other things. So you do that first, because the quality of text and copy that you get from that can be turned into any format you want. Ads, TikTok Reels, Instagram Reels, TikTok Shorts, whatever, landing page copy, sales page copy. So build up that process first and massage the text, shape it, ask GPT to shape it for you. And then eventually you get to the point where you have an email. But that's like the biggest shift. I think most copywriters, I hope they get it. Like, don't type in, give me 5 emails about my product and this avatar. It'll give you copy or text, but it won't be as good as if you first had run it through a process where you take raw, just drafted text. Either you ask it for it, or you give it to it, and then you ask it to transform that text through different lenses, different frameworks, different shapes of it, and then you get to the point where you ask for an email. Does that make sense? And so it's an interaction, and you're not training it, you're not fine-tuning it, no one has the capability through the basic browser interface. It just doesn't happen. But you stay in the same session, right? So
you can't bring back a session, right?
No, well, you can. It saves in the left-hand sidebar.
Save your chats and kind of go back to it. Yeah.
It'll save sessions. And so it'll keep sessions in the left sidebar, just a history of what you've done. And the key is to stay within the same session. So if you have a project for a client or for a product, stay in the same session, do all your things in the same session, because it provides a context that it can refer back to as you then prompt it for more stuff.
And you're saying that session can have just 12 to 13,000 input words.
It can have endless. It's just that the look back window is limited to 8,000 tokens.
For ChatGPT 3.
Save those, cut and paste in a doc. If you're because then what would you do then, Sam? Kind of start over or distill that down to get it caught back up, or?
No, I just leave it. So the whole history, I have like some of my early chats have probably 200,000 words in them.
Oh, okay.
I just leave it.
Okay. So it's all there. It remembers. It's just you can only see a certain amount at a certain.
It can only look back 8,000 tokens, give or take, right? So, but what I do is that, like, out of those 200,000 words, I've taken the stuff that I want and just put it into a Google Doc in the project that I'm doing, right? Like, I just save whatever I want to save.
Yeah.
And then if I need to bring it back, I copy and paste from a Google Doc into the chat window. And ta-da!
So, Sam, just one last question.
Sorry,
one last question.
Casey. Yep.
Can you just draw me the link to your course? Let me buy it. This is amazing.
Yeah,
Like I said, dude.
I'm not even to pitch. It's somewhere on the internet. You're gonna have to do some digging.
I have no issue with dropping Sam's link.
Someone else can drop a link. I don't want to
just get my affiliate link wherever that is.
It's amazing, Sam. Thank you, Ross too. This is great.
Thanks for jumping on.
Process.
Casey,
yeah,
great to see you, buddy.
Yeah.
Sorry to put you on the spot.
I give people prompts in the workshop, like, and there are millions of prompts on the internet, like, you know. But the key thing that I'm hoping people get now and also in the workshop is just it's a process. You got to interact with it. You have to like keep going with it. And copy.
And I love that
like, your job is now you're a copy paster. That's basically it. Like you're not a copywriter, you're a copy paster. That's it.
Like most developers these days, right? Just Stack Overflow.
Exactly.
Copy developers. That's what we are. All right. See you, buddy. Thank you.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Yeah, just one other thing I'd add on top of that for like Casey's obviously a business owner, right? So he's in a different position to like copywriters. Like with a copywriter, like you're only going to be working on someone's project for a limited time. And then like you're going to on to the next one, right? Like that you may have long-term clients, but like you need to become an expert in one market for a while, and then you're on to the next. Whereas someone like a business owner like Casey, like you're only going to be focusing in on that, like you've got that one market forever, unless you're selling the business and moving on. So for you as well, Kev, like what I'm encouraging my clients to start doing is like whether it's GPT-4 or it's Google's new tool, like whatever the thing is that's like doing the writing, like that's not as important as start curating the databases of your customers, like the dialogue, as you call it, Kev. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if I was you, I'd be encouraging you to like get all your sales calls from the last like 6 months and get them transcribed. Because whether you're going to run it through Bard or whether you're going to do it through GPT, have that database ready, so that you could do a lot of research on it. And then just as you're saying, like one of the go-to moves that I had back in the copywriting days that would blow the mind of the business owners was I would do all the research and then I'd create like a messaging brand book, right? Like here's the documented message kind of locked in and that can persist in time in the business after I've gone. And they loved it. I still create those. And now the easiest way to make GPT like an absolute expert in my market is do the research like Sam is talking about, and then create that brand book. And then anytime I'm ready to like start a new project or brainstorm, I just copy and paste that in, and it instantly knows about all of my market. And then I'm just away to the races, right? Like I can start brainstorming without having to feed it the sales calls to get to the bottom of things. You can use the sales calls to get the document on the brand book, and then you just feed it the brand book to like bring it up to speed, as you were saying, instantly.
Right. Yeah. And again, Justin Blackman's here, who is the preeminent specialist in that in brand voice, has been working with AI and is now building his own tools to help you dial in voice specifically. So the other cool thing is just the true artists in this who are embracing it are ahead of the game and are building supplemental tools to do more specific things. Right. And so, again, just play with the thing. Okay, cool. I want to bring on a data scientist who is one of our coaches, phenomenal guy, one of our badasseters, Tian. Let me find you here, buddy.
There are some questions. I don't know if you want to, I can answer some of them real quick.
Sure, do that. Yeah.
Yeah. So one anonymous attendee, when you start playing with these new AI products, what is the first thing you like to test the prompts? Anything that has to do with the human element, pains, desires, fears. I like to ask it, like, what would avatar ABC think or feel about XYZ? So I want to see like, where's the baseline of the emotion that it has? And meaning like, what else do I need to do to get it to amplify those emotions? Another one is now using ChatGPT for a couple of months. I'm wondering what you use to redirect it with when it gives you crap. Yeah, I just stop generating and then I edit the prompt. I don't even wait for it to finish. If it starts off crap, I just stop it and then it change the prompt. And then finally, quality output degrades after 2,000 words. Where do you get back to the speed? I limit my inputs so far. So GPT-4 will have more, but for now I stick with 1,200 words, give or take 13, 11, 1,200 words, and just stick with that. And I don't push the limit on it yet because I just don't want to waste the time realizing that I'm getting crappy output. So I just limit from the very beginning. Hope that makes sense.
Awesome. Thank you, Sam. Appreciate you knocking those out. This is Tian. If you guys haven't met, he is literally a data scientist.
Hey, folks.
How are you, buddy?
Happening.
I know you have a lot
Very
to
well.
say about this. You've been teaching on a high level, deep level inside a Copy Chief in the AI machine learning forum. Tell me, I don't know, what's top of your mind as you're hearing this conversation?
Well, this conversation is great. I think in general, and by the way, there's no one's an expert in this field, right? The field is developing so fast. I'm just enjoying myself learning from Sam, from Ross, and from everyone finding new applications for it. I think the main three things is the takeaway for everyone. I know people get scared with new technology like this. I've been studying this since grad school in like 2019, and I specialize in natural language processing. So if there's three takeaways, one, it's not sentient. There's no emotion. It's as dead as a calculator. Don't go forming relationships with it, falling in love, getting married in Vegas. Don't do that stuff. All right. First of all, it's not, that's not what it is. Sorry about that, Ross.
No.
Slow with the message. And two, it's not smart. It's not intelligent, not the way that you think it is, right? It's good at definable tasks, very specific tasks. So we sometimes give too much credit to a big language model, right? It's great in text summarization, use that, right? It's great at generating text according to some constraints, use that. But I mean, don't ask it to give therapy to at-risk individuals, which without any knowledge or ethics for duty of care. Don't go giving legal judgments to a judge, and don't get it to regulate the nuclear reactor rods. You know, that sort of thing. You always
don't ask
need
you to
a
do your
human.
taxes. Yeah, don't ask you to do your taxes.
Don't ask it to do your taxes, right? Don't ask it to sign your divorce papers. No. Okay. You have to be ahead in front of the problem, being in control. AI is the perfect slave. You have to be the best master. And the last thing is this whole thing about replacing you in a job. So look, the only field where it replaced an expert is in the chess industry, right? They've replaced grandmasters, and we still go up and beat that AI, right? Because it fosters new understanding of how the game gets played. Now, it's good enough in certain tasks that it's disrupting the labor market. That's a fair statement. But to say that you take away humans out of it, nah, we're just way better in other areas. We may not have the scale and the speed, but hang on here. We created this whole body of knowledge for it to mimic the best of us, right? So until they beat all of Earth mightiest heroes, we win. And as far as a species, right, we're gonna stay here until we destroy ourselves, not AI. So that's where I'll say with that, right? So that's why I like this conversation.
Thank you, John. Fantastic. All right, I appreciate you. Want to roll new voices in and out. That was fantastic. Really appreciate it, and everything you're doing in Copy Chief with this. Sam, and I want to leave space. There's so much to say here, but just broadening out a minute, and John touched on it. I was watching your recent thread on Facebook, and there was a interesting back and forth with this cat Drew, and you know, I'm trying. I want to properly represent Drew's point because I think a lot of people have this point. So I'm not here to but essentially, if I can sum it up, he's saying at the end of the day, we're feeding a beast that's going to take us all over, and it's like we're sort of like ignorantly allowing this for convenience. And when it's all said and done, there's no way humankind won't regret. And it seems like in his estimation that this could be the end of humankind. Essentially, am I kind of summarizing it correctly? And
probably.
And so what's, and you had some great points, and I know you've been receiving a lot of that from certain people. What percentage of people do you feel that way? Is it even relevant to enter into the conversation? And then what's your take?
I think it is relevant. I think, you know, math that I make up in the shower says that 60% of everyone, you know, but I think the majority, at least, feel something similar to what he expressed, which is a lot of hesitation, a lot of fear, and doomsday scenario as to what can happen. And like I said to him in that thread, like, I don't totally disagree with you. This has the potential, improperly used, this has potential of causing a lot of damage. It just does. But it's the same thing with nuclear energy. It can either give us power, like electricity, or it can blast us into kingdom come and be the end, true end of everyone. Right. It is really how you use it. And there's no way to like stop this, ban it, and roll it back. The technology exists. Even if in some country, they like countrywide, they ban it. Like, there's the internet, and you can get on the internet and you can have access to these tools no matter what. The genie is out of the bottle. This is not going away. It's not going back. Even if you have restrictive legislation, it won't change anything about what's happening. The only path forward is how you use it and what you use it for, and having a proper relationship to it, as in like, not like boyfriend, girlfriend, but as in how you interact with it. And, you know, be the master of it, make sure that it remains a tool. Because here's the thing, because it has the potential of causing a lot of damage, just like a nuclear bomb does, that same potential for bad can be turned into potential for good. And so the potential for good is right there, which is interesting. It's right there in all the chaos that it could wreak on us. It can also flip it into something that's good for us, if we have a proper understanding of it, if we use it correctly, and if we use it with responsibility, as in how we then eventually roll it out. So he's not wrong. And most people like who have a fear, so I say this all the time, you should be terrified. You should be shitting your pants. You should be pissing your bed at night. You should have nightmares about, and it sounds funny, but I'm trying to be serious. You should be absolutely terrified about what this can do in the wrong hands and in the wrong usage. Absolutely terrified. You should be scared to death about this. It's that serious, because the potential for absolute damage, and I'm not even talking about extinction, like all humans will be dead. I'm talking about the kind of surveillance and control that it enables anyone to do against you, and turning a free society into a control society. Right. That should scare you to death. Good. Feel that fear, and then use that as motivation to turn it into something that's good, and good usage and positive usage, and making sure that it doesn't get to that point where you find yourself completely surveilled and controlled, with no freedom, no human rights, and nothing except you in your, I don't know, basement. You know, does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. We talked about, I said, what's your long game in this, Sam? You're making this workshop, and you're like, I'm reacting to requests I'm getting. But then you did tell me sort of your 100-year idea about this. And I thought it was beautiful. So you want to summarize that?
How do I summarize the 100 years? So I have a
the power of creatives, right? Was the
So I have a 100-year, 10-year, and 1-year perspective. So everything I'm doing, I'm still trying to get back to my sonnet writing. Like, just to be clear, I said this in the workshop. Like, I was about to spend 3, 4, 5 months learning how to write sonnets, and that was going to be the only thing that I did. I'm still trying to do this. In the meantime, the perspective I have for the next 1, 10, and 100 years is creatives are all kinds of creatives, right? Whether it's copywriting all the way to photographers and all these things. It's funny, the way this is developing because of AI, creatives have a unique opportunity in history to turn the tide as to where the world is going, and to turn it into a better place. And in my opinion, creatives are positioned to do that better than anyone else, of any profession and of any kind. Because our sense of taste, judgment, discernment, wisdom, our aesthetics, are how we view the world and the beauty we want to bring out of it. This is a golden opportunity. To me, this is a new renaissance that's coming, that has potential of coming, that can change where this world is heading. Tech in the world now is heading to, in my opinion, in the wrong direction. Tech is heading, not just AI, all tech is heading towards surveillance and control, and keeping us trapped and dehumanized. That's the trajectory of tech right now. The time we spend on the phone, what's happening with tech, like tech is dehumanizing us in real time. Mm-hmm. The only way to flip that and to turn tech into something that humanizes us is through proper use of AI, and creatives are ahead of the game. because of how we work, how we function, how our brain works, and so on. Our sense of aesthetics and sensibility and sense of taste is the only thing right now that can stop what's happening with tech, turn the tide, and shift it toward us becoming more human. That's the 100-year vision. I think beauty is coming back for her revenge. She's coming with a vengeance. She's coming hard for her revenge. Beauty has been sidelined for 300 years. She's coming back hard and she's pissed off, and she's going to turn the tide.
Wow.
Does that answer the question?
Yeah, it sure does. Even more powerfully than first stated to me. Thank you. I know you grew on this, and I think it's important. All right, I'm gonna do my duty and wrap us in
one thing, because
I'm gonna give you
guys, there's one thing I really would like to add, because like that Sam was, he's on point, but I am a little maybe I'm more optimistic. I don't think this is the answer to the dystopian future that Sam described, because I think what it's going to do is going to drive the cost of creating new things down. And I think you're going to see entrepreneurship go through the roof. And I think a lot of the solutions to the problem Sam is describing will get created. Trust in digital communication is going to go through the floor, like with the deep fakes and these AI bots imitating people. And I think that's going to force people to get back into person. Like, you're not going to believe it unless you see it with your own eyes. And I think that's going to solve a whole bunch of social problems as well. So it might get a little darker, but I'm a little more optimistic that it's actually going to be the solution to the dystopian nightmare. So just wanted to put a little hope in there before we
I don't disagree. And I know I sound, but I do want people to feel like I'm trending toward the negative only because I want you to understand. Right. I'm hoping people get it. Like, how this plays out in the next 10 years, in the next 1 year, is going to determine the trajectory. And Ross, is good to be optimistic. I share that same optimism. I just want people to understand the potential for danger that does exist.
Yes.
Not just because of AI, but tech and AI together, the way the trajectory is. I want to flip that switch. I want to stop it dead in its track. I want to strangle that trajectory and beat it to the ground, and make sure that beauty comes for her revenge. Anyway, I'm rambling, so I got nothing.
Beautiful. Thank you, guys. This was tremendous. Clearly, we're just scratching the surface. I want to remind everybody, if you haven't heard me talk about it, we are doing a live event here in St. Pete. Sam is generously coming to be with us to speak, to share more of what he knows. We'll continue with some of the philosophical stuff, but we're going to get very tactical there.
Yeah.
Ron Lynch, legendary, innovative marketer for many years, reached out to me and said, "Hey, can I come?" And I said, "Only if you hold the mic."
You speak.
So Ron's gonna tell us. And again, so many people have been doing this quietly behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And those are the people I want to hear from. They're in the lab doing the work, learning. A lot of chin stroking and light bulbs. That's the people we want to learn from. And it gets distilled down to us. It puts the power in our hands. And that's what we're doing. There literally is only about 7 or 8 seats left, because I'm capping this at 40. It's in a brewery. It's going to be super chill. It doesn't mean we're going to stay drunk the whole time. It just means that it's a cool space to relax and not feel like we're at a conference. So that's the link there. Copychief.com/St. Pete. Sam, thank you for this. Ross, thank you for this. Man, really appreciate the ability to learn from you guys. Thank you, everybody, for being here and listening. Keep this conversation going inside of Copy Chief. We have a whole section for this. Tian is in there a lot. We share prompts, we share ideas, we answer questions, we explore this together. As Tian said, there's really no one expert in this. And if they are, the engineers of it, they ain't talking out in public like this.
Exactly.
They're paid not to talk.
Exactly right. Yeah.
So let's learn together, okay? It's the power of the people. Thanks, everybody. I appreciate you. Have a great St. Patrick's Day and a great weekend, and we'll see you back. Bye.